is a picture of Sarah's wedding. Well, that's maybe it's not the best shape. There is his people, and there he is. That was his best man. And that's Sarah, of course, and Edith, his sister, and I'm matron, or one of the maid of honors or something. I didn't feel like wanting to be because that was just before David was born. And this is his niece, and this is Ruth again. Of Ruth Russell's wedding. This is Russell and Verna, and his aunt, Verna's aunt, was a preacher there in Belleville, and Verna was living with her, so their wedding was at their place, and that was mother with Russell and Verna and her mother. And this one is Ruth's wedding. Now it was held in the Battersea Church, and this was mother and Ruth and Don and his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Sanglin. Now, the reason Sarah and I were married in the church was because Dad had been always ill. Now, of course, Dad had died before Ruth was married, and in fact, Dad had to sit on a chair at Sarah's wedding. So you can see that he wasn't able to do too much. Now, when I went out to teach, I didn't teach for too long until the car dealers were down around after me. So I bought a little yellow and black Ford Cabriolet coupe, and it had a rumble seat, and of course the top went down, and I had to be sporty. So I bought it, and it was the first time that anyone talked about putting things on time, and the dealer wouldn't cost you anything, just put it on time. And home with the new car, and Dad's asked about it. I told him. We went into town. Dad said, "You're not putting it on time," so he had the money, and he was going to pay for it. It was only $300, and so they were going to make me keep it on the time payments, but I wasn't only 19-year-old, so they couldn't do a thing. Now this is a picture of Sarah and myself and Ruth when we were at home yet. And of course, better take a better look at our wedding picture. There, what we looked like at our wedding day up close. And I will tell you something, that day, on our way for our honeymoon, we started out for going on our honeymoon, and I had forgotten to kiss Dad goodbye. So I had to go back to kiss Dad goodbye. When I got to, we had to go around because they were chasing us with our cars. We went around by Sunbury, and we were coming back down by the little church. Because I was feeling bad about it, Osborne took me back home to kiss Dad goodbye.
Did you have the little yellow car?
Oh yes, that's what we went in. That's we had that for years after. We kept it the little yellow car until Dad happened to get a chance out of getting a blue Buick sedan, and it was for $75 at a sale. So then we gave Russell, because he was walking 8 miles between churches every Sunday, and we gave him the car. But being a preacher, he thought he couldn't use a little yellow car like that, so he painted it black. But that little car, I used to take grain to the mill. And I have a picture of it someplace with David sitting on the running board when I brought it home and put it over by the pig pen to take the grain out of it.
Yeah, it looks good. Go ahead.
Well, David, as you can see there, holding Alan, is the eldest in our family. David, he was born at Mrs. Sears's, and he was the most beautiful baby you'd ever see, of course. He was just pink and white, a large-sized baby, about 9 pounds. And he was, of course, we thought he was pretty nice. That same day, Dad had gotten the idea that Flora needed him, so he said to John, "Get out the car, John." He, of course, was in bed. He wasn't well. He said, "Flora needs me." So he was down to see his first grandchild before he was an hour old. And Joyce was born at the same nursing home, Mrs. Sears' nursing home. And she had quite a time because we couldn't have our own doctor. We got in there and we had to have a strange doctor. And Dr. Davis instead of Dr. Bird, because Dr. Bird had the mumps, believe it or not, at that age. So, but she didn't come out to be as beautiful a baby as David, but she grew out of that. Everything was fine afterwards, and she's been a jolly girl ever since. And Carol came next. And of course, as you can see, she was a shy little thing, but she's done well coming out of that. And of course, and then Alan came along. And Alan was born here at home. And I didn't, the reason I wouldn't, the doctor wanted me to go to the hospital, and I wouldn't because I was afraid they'd give me the wrong baby, because there'd been a story of that in the paper. So then I had trouble, and the baby nearly died, and so did I. And David afterwards was he of course was 7-year-old, so he took in more than what we thought, and he'd have nightmares after that. So we took, one night I took the baby in. He was only about 4 or 5 months old, and laid him in the bed with him. And from that on, David never had any trouble in the night. And he kept the baby with him. And it was kind of hard for fear he might roll on the baby, but he didn't. So David looked after Alan, and Alan was his very best friend. So several years later, of course, was it 5 years? 5 years at least, because after I'd been sick, we had Gloria was born. And of course, she was born cesarean, but they all came in to see her, to have her brought home. When she was brought home, Dad brought all the children in to see her, and she was brought home. And the first night, they wanted to be alone with their new baby sister, and she was brought home the day of our anniversary that year. So children all, but while we were in there, we were talking about a name, and I was going to give her the name June. And the kids thought, you don't call anybody July and August, so why are you going to name her June? So they gave her the name Gloria, and she's got that ever since. So, Gloria June Ruby.